Hello and welcome to How to Pay for Grad School Before, During, and After. As the title suggests, paying for grad school is something you need to plan for not only before you start, but it also needs to be managed during grad school. And lastly, after you've completed your program, it's important to know your repayment and possibly loan forgiveness options. This webinar was developed by the Office of Graduate and Professional Studies in conjunction with the Office of Financial Aid at St. Mary's College. It is designed to be an overview of financial aid available to graduate students, but is not intended to replace information or advice provided directly by the Financial Aid Office. My goal in the next 40 minutes is to demonstrate how you can pay for your graduate studies without risking your financial security in the future. Here are some things to consider. Remember, timing is everything. Apply for financial aid at the same time you are applying for admission to your program of study to allow sufficient time for processing. This is normally 6 to 8 weeks. Be prepared in all aspects of your life: budget, family, health, personal mindset, other life events or obligations. You may need to adjust your lifestyle in terms of spending. And you need to realize that no one funding source is going to cover all your costs. So think diversification and give yourself enough time to do the proper research. You almost certainly will need to take out a loan, but there are ways to offset that cost. There are many possible sources of financial aid in addition to federal loans: SMC payment plans, grants, assistantships or fellowships, work-study, scholarships, private loans, employer reimbursement, or veterans or dependents of veterans benefits. And speaking of veterans, St. Mary's is a yellow ribbon school. For graduate students, professional students, and non-traditional graduate students who don't need to take out a loan but just need to be able to divide their tuition into more manageable payments, a 3-month payment plan is administered by the St. Mary's Business Office for fall and spring, and a 2-month plan for summer. The cost is $25 per term, and a new application or contract must be turned in before the start of each term for which you want to be on a payment plan. You can contact the business office for more information on this program. Unfortunately, international students are not eligible for federal loans and grants. These students should explore home country-based or government-sponsored scholarships, school-specific scholarships, or private loans, which normally require a U.S. sponsor. There are several different types of assistantships, as you can see from this list. The direct and indirect benefits of an assistantship are fairly obvious. These positions are usually paid in the form of reduced tuition and or a stipend for living expenses. Normally, a student will be assigned to a specific department and asked to work a certain number of hours per week or teach a specific number of classes. Besides the experience and the funding, the networking opportunities are phenomenal. St. Mary's College offers assistantships or fellowships in the MFA in Creative Writing, the MFA in Dance, and the MA in Kinesiology programs. More details can be found on their program website. In terms of the types and sources of scholarships, here are a few. School-specific school-specific or program-specific. Here at St. Mary's, the School of Education, the Graduate School of Business, the MFA in Creative Writing, the MA in Kinesiology, and the MFA in Dance all offer partial scholarships for incoming or, in some cases, current students. Details can be found on their program websites. Professional associations or organizations in your field, say California Association of School Counselors or the National Association of School Psychologists. The American Association of University Women is another example. Disadvantaged or underrepresented categories often have scholarships earmarked for them. Hispanic students, for example, the Hispanic Association of Schools and Colleges has scholarships. There also might be scholarships out there for single mothers or the disabled or veterans or women returning to the workforce. The SMC library provides access to databases and catalogs for students interested in finding assistance with grants. Excuse me. Sip of water there. Grants, scholarships, subsidies, government aid, and loans. Search the web for scholarships. FastWeb, Peterson, Student Scholarship Search, and gradcu.com are scholarship websites that it's worth your time to check out. I want to stop here and indicate that you will receive a follow-up email from me tomorrow, which will have listed all the websites that I'm mentioning in today's webinar. So you don't have to necessarily worry about writing everything down. You will get a follow-up email. In addition, UCLA offers a free searchable database called the Graduate and Postdoctoral Extramural Support, otherwise known as GRAPES. It contains information on over 600 private and publicly funded scholarships, grants, fellowships, and postdoctoral awards for graduate study, master's thesis, or doctoral dissertation research, study and research abroad, as well as postdoctoral research, and more. Remember, when you research scholarship opportunities, be sure to note the application deadlines and award timeframes. You can apply for as many scholarships as you qualify for, but remember, being awarded one is not a given. So make sure you have applied for a loan amount sufficient to cover your needs. Then, if you're awarded a scholarship, you can always decline the disbursement for a particular term in which you perhaps received a scholarship. Everyone should complete the FAFSA, which stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. This is in case your financial circumstances change mid-year. Even if you don't intend to take out a loan, some need-based scholarships will require you to complete a FAFSA. A new FAFSA must be submitted at the beginning of every calendar year, but you are funded based on the courses taken during the academic year, which runs July 1st through June 30th. Submitting a FAFSA automatically initiates the loan process. If you decide that you don't want a loan, you should let our financial aid office know. And the correct URL to access FAFSA is www.fafsa.ed.gov. There is something called FAFSA.com, but it's not the same thing. So although they are a student financial services company, they will charge you to fill out what is already a free form. So be careful about that. In addition to the FAFSA, you will go to studentloans.gov to complete graduate entrance counseling and execute your master promissory note for the direct loan. The entire financial aid process can be handled, if you wish, for your convenience via phone or email. It's not necessary to meet face-to-face with a financial aid counselor unless you have concerns or issues that you wish to discuss. There are two types of student loans, unsubsidized direct and Graduate Plus. Direct loan is $20,500 per year with a lifetime maximum of $138,500. Everyone, I want to stress this, everyone qualifies for $20,500 per year as a full-time graduate student, unless you previously defaulted on a federal loan. For Grad Plus loans, there is no maximum. However, you're not eligible for Grad Plus if you have adverse credit history, like a bankruptcy, late payer status, defaulting on a loan, or excessive credit card debt. You need to apply only once at the beginning of your program for the direct loan, but you must reapply every year for Grad Plus. And Grad Plus, the form for that is also at studentloans.gov. You can always decline the disbursement during a specific term if you get a scholarship. And remember, if your program offers a Jan term, and some of our graduate programs do, there's no regular disbursement of financial aid at that time. So you will need to arrange for those funds to be added to the preceding fall term if you're in school, or if you already started, added to the preceding fall term disbursement or the following spring term disbursement. Talk to the business office directly to make sure they understand your situation and that you have financial aid in the form of a loan coming, but you won't have it in hand until, say, the spring term. And it doesn't hurt to ask if they'll waive the late fee for paying on Jan term tuition. Can't guarantee they will, but I think you know, if you work with them, I mean, we're still a small school, a place where you can talk to people face to face and you know, make these kinds of requests. And I suggest that it's worth your time to do so. And just again, I've mentioned this already, Grad Plus loans, you must apply at studentloans.gov in addition to your FAFSA. This would be in the event that the $20,500 that you're getting from the direct loan is not sufficient to cover the full cost of your tuition. And if you also need cost of living expenses, or living expenses, excuse me, then the Grad Plus loan will make up the difference between your total cost of attendance and the direct loan of $20,500. Here's an example of a $20,500 direct loan repayment. This is based on the standard repayment model, which is the default for anyone coming out of deferment. Remember, while you're going to school, your loan is in deferment. Basically, 6 months afterwards, your loan comes out of deferment and you will begin to pay. And if you do nothing, you will go into standard repayment, and this is what your payment would look like. Here's an example of an additional $10,000 Grad Plus loan repayment. Again, this is the standard repayment based on 10 years of repayment. You can see that the interest rate on the Grad Plus loan is a little higher. Because your student loans can substantially affect your overall credit and vice versa, it's worth the time to spend a few moments on financial literacy. You've heard of the term FICO, Fair, Isaac, and Company, which is the most common score type. The most important thing to remember is that your credit scores are fluid because they are recalculated after every credit inquiry. FICO does consider how you are paying your accounts, how much money you currently owe, how long your accounts have been open, what different types of credit you use, how much credit you use compared to the amount of credit you have available, and how often and how recently have you applied for credit. How much credit you use compared to the amount of credit you have available. Let me just make a point on this. If you have decided that you are going to tuck away certain credit cards so you will not use them, while admirable, that does not improve your credit score, because it's still, if that credit card account is still open, it still counts in this particular criteria of how much credit you use versus how much credit you have available. So if you do not intend to use certain credit cards anymore, it's better to close those accounts altogether, and that will reflects favorably on your credit score. FICO does not evaluate your age, race, religion, sex, or marital status, not your occupation or salary or employment history or where you live, child family support obligations, rental agreements, and student loans in deferment. If you are denied credit, you have the right to ask the lender for score reasons. And this is important because if you understand the score reasons, then you can work on that and help yourself improve that score, FICO score, over time. You can improve credit behavior by making your loan credit payments on time, reducing open lines of credit, especially newer credit, and keeping balances low, or better yet, paying in full monthly. You can correct inaccurate information, so keep your information updated and dispute mistakes. That's why you should get a free credit report every year to review, to make sure there is no incorrect information there, which might, negatively impact your credit score. You can improve, but you cannot repair poor credit. Bad credit stays with you for 10 years. So you might see credit repair services out there. They're really a waste of money. It's something that you need to work on yourself over time. You can find out your total loan debt in detail by going to the National Student Loan Data System. Repayment usually begins 6 months after graduation, and there are now several different options you can look into. In addition to standard repayment, there is income-based repayment, pay-as-you-earn repayment, and income contingent repayment. And it is sometimes possible, once you access all your loans through the NSLDS, the National Student Loan Data System, there may be instances where it might be possible for you to consolidate your loans to your advantage. But until you access that information and see it, you won't know that. Here's some important information about repaying your loans. Set up payments automatically through your bank account to reduce the chances of late or missing checks. Remember, the standard repayment period for student loans is 10 years. Use the government's National Student Loan Data System, which we just talked about, to track all your federal student loans. Income-based repayment is an option to you that would allow your monthly payment to be capped at 10% of your discretionary income. Stay current with the law. The Project on Student Debt and the National Consumer Law Center's Student Loan Borrowers Assistance Project have the latest and greatest on student loan development. And remember, if you end up in a dispute with your lender, there's something called the Federal Student Aid Ombudsman, and they may be able to help you resolve the problem. For private loans, you could be in default as soon as you miss a payment. Private lenders' collection powers are not as strong, but this is still debt you owe. If you default on either your private or your federal loans, usually the federal loans are considered delinquent after 9 months, it affects your credit and could prevent you from securing a credit card, a mortgage, an apartment, or a job. So rather than missing payments, a deferment can be requested. This is a temporary suspension of payments if you re-enroll in school. So while you're in school, your loans go into deferment. If you are unemployed, you face economic hardship, or due to disability, certain military service, or following active duty. There's another option called forbearance. Forbearances are temporary postponements or reductions because of financial hardship. However, remember, in both cases, interest continues to accrue even while while your loan is in deferment or under forbearance. The income-driven payment plans are designed for those in repayment experiencing partial and economic hardship whose outstanding federal student loan debt is higher than their annual income or represents a significant portion of their annual income. You must apply for these repayment options. If you don't do anything, when your loan goes into a repayment, it will default to the standard repayment plan, which is, like I said earlier, 10 years divided into 12 monthly payments per year. Income-driven repayment plans include IBR, pay-as-you-earn repayment, or now called REPAY, and income contingent repayment. Of those, probably pay-as-you-earn or REPAY is the most attractive, then followed by income-based repayment, and then lastly income contingent. So income-based repayment, for that, payments are capped at 10% of disposable income, and you are eligible for forgiveness after 20 years of payment. You can use an online tool at studentloans.gov. You must determine you must send your tax information annually to confirm that you're still eligible for this program. Otherwise, a higher payment could result. So let me repeat. Your payments are not based on what you owe, but are capped at 10% of your disposable income. And you are eligible for forgiveness after 20 years of payment. And you, again, to do this, you have to apply initially, and then you have to apply every year thereafter by submitting your tax information through studentloans.gov. Then there is pay-as-you-earn repayment, or REPAY now, which is a graduated repayment based on your individual's earnings and how they increase over time. Payments are capped at 10% of disposable income, and you're eligible for forgiveness after 25 years of payment. Regardless, I'm going to talk about public service loan forgiveness, where you might be eligible for repayment after 10 years. But even if you don't work in public service, you're eligible under these two plans, either at 20 or 25 years of payment. And then the last one is income contingent repayment, which extends your repayment over time. Payments are capped at 20% of disposable income, and you're eligible for forgiveness after 25 years of payment. So those are the three options. And this table illustrates what monthly payments would be under income-based repayment or pay-as-you-earn repayment at various income levels. As you can see, it makes those payments more affordable and proportionate to the income level of the payer. And that's, excuse me, that's the key here, is that you're making the payments more affordable. I mentioned public service loan forgiveness a few moments ago. If you opt for one of the income-driven repayment plans and you work for 10 years in a school, hospital, the military, government, really anything in the nonprofit sector would qualify as eligible employment for public service loan forgiveness. The one disclaimer is that any loan amount forgiven under a forgiveness plan could be viewed as untaxed income in the future. But you know, even if it ends up being taxable income, it's still, you know, preferable making your payment smaller and then paying for the tax, you know, having the taxes paid at a time where you're in a better position perhaps to pay them. So again, if you're on standard repayment, after 10 years, there is not going to be a balance, because that's what standard payment is all about, paying off your loan in 10 years. So you have to opt for one of these income-based payment plans in order to have some kind of residual loan amount at the end, which then could possibly be forgiven. Hope that makes sense. There are other loan forgiveness programs for specific professionals. The mental behavioral health clinicians can get up to $50,000 to repay student loans with a 2-year commitment to working at an approved National Health Service Corps site in a high-need, underserved area in the United States. If you go to this website, it will show you where their clinics are located. And the attractive thing about this program is that payment, the loan forgiveness is paid at the beginning of your service, so that loans can be paid down much more quickly. And then there's the California Mental Health Loan Assumption Program, which was created and funded by Proposition 63 through the Mental Health Services Act of 2004. Eligible applicants who would include, say, those studying for marriage family therapy, or licensed clinical counselor or practitioner, or school psychologist, could receive up to $10,000 to repay educational loans by committing to a 12-month service obligation, working at a hard-to-fill or retain position within the county public mental health system. Students may apply for the Teach Grant if they're enrolled in a state-approved teacher preparation program and they agree to teach for 4 years in a low-income or low-performing school. And of course, St. Mary's is a state-approved teacher preparation program. But the catch here is if you do not complete the service commitment, then whatever you received in a grant, which is somewhere slightly less than $4,000, would turn into a loan that you'd have to repay. Highly qualified credentialed teachers who have a federal Stafford or direct loan and have been employed as a full-time teacher for 5 complete and consecutive academic years in a Title I school are eligible for loan forgiveness. So this is a separate Teach Grant you get while you're going to school. The loan forgiveness for teachers happens after you've been employed as a teacher for 5 years in a either low-income or low-performing elementary or secondary school. So this is another loan forgiveness program that is perhaps more immediate than public service loan forgiveness, but you may be able to take advantage of both depending on your loan situation. Eligible schools for teacher loan forgiveness are listed in the annual directory of designated low-income schools for teacher cancellation benefits. You can find that online. And the amount of the benefit will vary depending on the school and subjects taught, anywhere from $5,000 to $17,000. And $17,000 would be where you're teaching something like special education, which is a high-need subject area in a low-income or low-performing school. The Lifetime Learning Credit offers up to $2,000 per tax return for each year you pay for college. To qualify, your modified adjusted gross income cannot exceed $63,000 for a single tax filer or $127,000 for those who are married and filing jointly. Qualified education expenses do not include insurance, medical expenses, room and board, transportation, or other personal living or family expenses. So this is pretty much, it can be applied for tuition and books. A maximum annual credit of $2,500 per eligible student for qualified education expenses for the first 4 years of higher education. This is the American Opportunity Tax Credit. For graduate students, this is somewhat limited. It means that you would only be eligible for this credit if you completed your undergraduate degree and started a graduate degree in the same year. And if you qualify for both of these 2 credits that I just mentioned, you can choose one that will give you the lowest tax. You cannot take advantage of both. So to summarize, develop a funding plan, get organized, and keep good records. You can see how important it is to keep good records over time, because this is something, you know, in terms of the repayment that you're going to be working with for many years after you complete your program. Develop and modify your budget as needed. Make it a living document and change it. Don't just create it and then file it away and never look at it again. Make sure you follow developments and changes in the law. As I mentioned, studentaid.ed.gov or equaljusticeworks.org. You know, there really recently was a change in the income-based repayment programs, which made them more attractive. So these changes come along, and you want to be aware of them. And then again, review your plan regularly to make sure it still fits your needs. Also new this year is the SALT Financial Literacy Program, purchased by St. Mary's, and is not available at every school. This is a differentiator for us. It's available to you throughout your time at St. Mary's and also after you leave us as an alum. This service provided by our financial aid office is an online tool that will help you manage your finances and loan repayment, as well as loan debt counseling and advocacy. And it also has a job, internship, and scholarship search function, which is an additional benefit that you can take advantage of. So with that, I will conclude the webinar. If you have questions now, please type them in, and I'll attempt to answer them for everybody who's remains on the webinar. Also, as I mentioned earlier, you will be receiving an email from me providing links to many of the topics we discussed today. You know, I want to thank you, and I really sincerely hope this session was beneficial and you feel more confident that you can pay for your graduate studies without risking your financial security in the future. And I hope that you do choose St. Mary's as your destination for graduate studies, and perhaps we'll meet on campus in the not too distant future. This is my contact information, so if you prefer to send me an email with your question, you're welcome to do so, or you can also give me a call and I will attempt to answer your question at that time, or you know, on the phone. So let me just check questions or comments. Well, looks like I just have a comment that someone learned a lot. Well, I'm glad. I'm really glad about that. Let's see. Click the top here. Okay. Another thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you for all of this information, and I will be going over all of it and would love to meet with you if I have any further questions. Oh, yes, and I did want to also let you know, because I often get questions about the slides. I don't distribute the slides because I'm constantly updating them. New information comes along all the time, and I don't want obsolete or outdated slides floating out there. But what I do is record this webinar. So you can find this recording. Give me, you know, a few hours to post it, but you will find it on the Graduate and Professional Studies website, on the St. Mary's website, Graduate and Professional Studies. Once you get to that page, in the left-hand navigation, click on Student Resources. Then the drop-down will show Financial Aid. Click on that, and on that page, the bottom of the page, you'll find the recording that you can click on and watch again. Okay. Wait a few more minutes to see if there's any other information. Any other questions here? I don't see any questions. I'm sure that things will occur to you after we sign off here, but as I said, you're welcome to send me an email or give me a call, or of course watch the recording, which will allow you to pause and on certain slides, etc. Okay. Well, I think that just wraps things up. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you on campus sometime soon. Bye now.